Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him two lips like roses and clover, and tell him that his lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone, don't have nobody to call my own. Please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Nox Mente. Tonight's guest is Nomad. Good evening, Nish. How are you? I need to write a better intro, so I apologize. No, it's off. Guys, hold on. It's fucked up again. I have no idea why. What a pain in the ass. Yes, and nobody can hear anything. I'm watching it, and I'm like, I can see the stuff going on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now it's going.
Okay, so
Check.
are we live? Can everyone hear us?
Yep, now it's working.
Okay, so let's get back to what part of the country did you grow up in?
Northeast America.
Okay, excellent. Anywhere by the water, or was it more foresty?
A combination of both. I actually grew up on a peninsula that juts out into the ocean, so I was definitely right in the ocean for the first maybe decade or so of my life.
Oh, cool.
And ever since then, I've pretty much lived in the woods.
So somebody needs to turn their YouTube off because it's echoing. So when you think of, this is kind of a question related to that. I'm trying to get like when you think of the great, and for just the mainstream concept here, the unconscious, the great collective unconscious, people that grow up around big bodies of water tend to view that in their dreams as the collective unconscious, as opposed to people that grow up in the flatlands or the forest, big nature. So when you think of the collective unconscious, what comes to mind?
I wouldn't describe it as any landscape necessarily. I would say, in a way, it's almost indescribable. It's something. It's. I mean, I would say it's the layer below reality that really you can't apply words to, in my opinion.
Oh, nice. I agree. I agree, but sometimes they come as symbols. So if you're floating through a dream landscape and say you're all of a sudden in a dark wood and you in your dayside life grew up in a forest, the dark wood can tend to be a symbol for that which is bigger than you, the what we've coined the collective unconscious. So whereas it doesn't really fit into words, the symbols sometimes vibrate with the words. So that's kind of where I'm
I
going.
agree. One thing I would say though is that I think, in a way, the subconscious or the collective, whatever you want to call it, is completely separate from nature. Can be applied to nature, but
Yes.
in my opinion, I mean, one thing I always say is that, at least for what I can tell, for sure, are nature and numbers.
Mm, I'm with you on that. This is why I was excited to interview you. This was, you always bring
Nice.
some juice to the conversation. So, okay, also, just in these first upfront questions, what religious upbringing were you around? Did it change? And if so, to what?
Actually, I was luckily enough, I had parents who didn't raise me with any religion. And I think, I mean, from everything my mom told me, it was because she hated it and it just felt like oppression to her.
Nice.
She actually didn't even give me or my sister middle names
Oh,
because she thought that was bullshit too.
I like your mother.
Yeah, right.
This is
Yeah,
good.
she was also a nature lover as well.
Do you have, did you formulate anything on your own then?
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah,
Did your mother
I'd say
take your
so.
father's last name?
Nope.
Oh, she is rad.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's consistent with what he just said also.
Correct, it is. I was just checking.
So do you have any kind of structure around what all that is, you know?
See, from a very young age, like, and I'm sure it was helpful to not be raised with any sort of paradigm, but I just naturally came to the conclusion that reincarnation was real. I mean, I
Mhm.
remember as a child, like sitting in the grass, looking up at the clouds, nice sunny day, and just thinking about reincarnation. And that's what made sense without, I'd say, any influence whatsoever.
Nice. I like how that came about naturally.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because most people don't have, most people do get raised, or I'd say indoctrinated into some sort of belief system. And ultimately, that's really not good for creativity. And as humans, I feel like that's our greatest potential, to be creative.
I agree. And I'm also grateful to have come up with from people who didn't throw anything on me.
Oh, same for you too.
Yeah. So it was
Yeah.
nice. So,
See, I
and
was baptized, but that's like the extent of it. And I think they probably, I don't know if they just did that because of what their parents believed.
Were you? Did you get confirmed?
Yeah, I don't even know what that means.
Cool.
Confirmed.
Well, I
Confirmed.
was raised Roman Catholic, and one of their rituals, the last ritual before you get out of their clutches, is called confirmation.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that.
I don't remember what exactly we had
And
to do other than pick a new name, but that was it. But
religion is one of the weirdest things to me. I mean, it just seems like right now, especially, there's so many, and religion being one that has spanned time for, I mean, even just thinking back to,
allegedly.
yeah, allegedly, but even thinking back to the fact that this is the year 2017,
Allegedly.
and that at
is
some,
it?
yeah, allegedly, but that's what the system tells us, right?
Right.
And there
Right.
was a point in time where someone or something, or I guess we could just say the powers that be, decided to reset time. And that's odd. When you really think about that, I mean, is it just a way to structure society better?
No, there's a lot there.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, right?
it could be as simple as that their
But
magic
see,
works best with those calendar dates.
Jerry.
And there's a lot to religion too. I just feel like it's, I don't know, a bunch of mind control in a way.
That's all it is.
Well, the reason we want to get to the bottom of what that is for each person is because it's significant in the deeper layers of who they are. And so the symbols, which is ultimately what this is kind of about, find their way into those forms.
Absolutely, they do.
And speaking of that, what sign are you?
Gemini.
Do you know, is that all you know? Like rising sign, moon sign?
Yeah, not off the top of my head.
Okay, cool.
I mean, I was
Gemini.
born in the morning. I don't know. At one point, I did have a pretty in-depth astrological chart done for me.
Is your
I
sister
like
a
it.
I forget
twin?
the details.
Is your sister a twin?
Nope.
Okay.
That would have been cool. Anyway, okay. And then also, so these last two questions kind of evolved over the other interviews. So what sign are you? And then this one also, what's the best psychedelic you've ever tried if you have tried psychedelics?
Easily mushrooms. Mushrooms for sure. I feel like they're the most medicinal, spiritual plant. You know, it's from earth, it's from nature. I mean, there is also possibly, you know, directed panspermia, but besides that, you know,
Oh, yeah.
that's an idea. Let's just say for a second that it is from nature. I mean, it's something that grows, provided from our planet or our plane, depending on what you believe. And either way, every time I've done it, it's always been, I mean, purposefully in nature. I always go to nature while I take them. And it's always a deep, profound medicinal reconnection with nature. And when you really think about it, us being human, we are from nature.
Oh,
So it
yes.
only, that's why I feel like it's I mean, marijuana as well is medicinal, but especially mushrooms, as far as a spiritual medicine, my number one.
I really appreciate the fact that you take it seriously, and so it's not taking mushrooms and then, you know, clubbing. You actually go
Just
to
for fun.
the shrine of nature and are seeking
Do
a
people
conversation or an experience.
Do people actually do that?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's when you get the
Jerry.
most out of it, man.
Recreational mushrooms?
Yes, Jerry. I've been around it.
I would freak out. I would totally freak out.
Usually I know many people who have had bad trips because that's how they intended on using it and just weren't expecting the experience, the lessons.
Yeah, it's all about set and setting.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, they are the holy sacred, and that clearly kind of disrupts almost a term of agreement when one takes them, because they can also turn on you on your liver.
Absolutely.
So it's yeah, but I expected to hear that answer from you. You seem very in tune with nature.
Yeah, it seems, especially with mushrooms, it seems like they have something to show you.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you listen to them, you can learn something. Most people don't. Most people just want to see shit and trip out.
Mm-hmm.
That's, yeah. I mean, that's one way to do it, but that's definitely not what it's all about, especially considering so many psychedelics are medicinal.
Right.
For the spirit.
They're
which
like
is
a
probably
vortex.
why they're illegal.
Oh, of course, absolutely. So on this thread, let's weave in dreams into that. So, in your experiences using the sacred mushroom, has any of that kind of blurred into dream time, dream realm, whatever you experience when you're not physically in your body?
Mushrooms themselves?
When you're having, yeah, when you've taken them and you're out in nature, is there a blur there?
No, I wouldn't say. If anything, I feel like it's getting deeper into reality, or I would say nature. Maybe reality and nature could be synonymous, but it doesn't feel like a blurring of lines. If anything, it feels like it's getting rid of lines. It's crossing lines.
And dreams don't have that effect on you?
Oh, dreams do too. Yep. But
So
they're
that's why I'm trying
totally
to draw
different.
You could also look at it as a lifting of veils by the medicine, and
Exactly.
when you're dreaming, you're already beyond those veils, perhaps.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Definitely.
Do
I mean,
you?
sometimes dreams, I would say, also are just, working out things subconsciously that are in the conscious.
Yes, of course.
But also, sometimes they do have lessons to be learned.
This is one thing I wanted to bring up last week too that I didn't get a chance to put in. It's always been my observation that
Jerry, you're dropping out.
portion of dreaming is to
Robot Jerry.
is any better,
over, man.
Any better?
Yes.
Come
you're
back
better
to us,
now.
Jerry.
My mouth is on the microphone almost.
Oh.
Yes, it's big. Anyway, it's been my observation that a portion of dreaming is reserved to relegate short-term memory into long-term memories, or to sort out the crap from the day and put the good stuff away for later.
Absolutely.
I think that's probably 10-20% of dreaming purpose, maybe just a portion of it, I don't know, but the rest I think is all
there's definitely
free fall.
Yeah, there is something critical about it in the way dreaming interacts with the actual conscious mind. But then also I feel like, there's also a total other aspect to dreaming that is not of the conscious whatsoever. And that's where things like maybe precognitions can occur and other psychic phenomenon, stuff like things that just don't make sense.
Co-creation, perhaps.
Yeah, that could be too, man. Absolutely. I mean, like I said earlier, we are creative. Humans, we're here to create. That's our main purpose.
But for everyone else, we create for the slave masters.
Well, that's because it's been hijacked.
Yeah.
So we're going to move into that in a bit. Do you have dream recall? Are you good at dream recall?
Yeah, definitely. I remember most of my dreams. There's definitely some where I can remember some details, but I struggle to remember like the whole point of it. But there's so many dreams where, I mean, even my girlfriend tells me all the time, she's like, what the hell is like, how do you have these dreams and still be okay? Every time I go to a new place, whether it be like a hotel, or for instance, a couple years ago when I moved into a new place, I always have intense dreams the first night I'm there. No matter what, I don't know why. And it doesn't always, sometimes it has to do with the environment, but it doesn't always. But either way, they're always intense. And I've always wondered why that is. Maybe just being in a new space.
Maybe you were a repo man in a past life, because a repo man's life is always intense.
That would be epic. But yeah, definitely dream recall is fairly consistent.
So, and then on that, when you do experience more intensity in new places, do you think it's possible that you're possibly scouting it out, the etheric energy around you?
I think, yeah, I've definitely thought that that's what it is. Almost as if it's like a psychic, psychic scouting.
It's interesting. Do you dream in black and white or color or both?
I'd say both.
What's the difference when you in the feel, in the sense of the dream, when it's color as opposed to black and white?
You know, like thinking about it, it's hard to tell, but like seeing certain things in the dream, and you know, it makes me wonder, how do you really know? Because it could just be my conscious mind filling in the colors.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I'd say it's really hard to tell. Because when you think about it, I mean, for instance, do you dream in color? Or is that your your conscious mind, or
just your recollection of it.
yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
What is it just filling in the blanks?
Well, you know, the phenomenon of color is based on light frequency and wavelengths, which aren't really occurring in your eyeballs while you're sleeping.
True.
So, what is color in a dream other than an emotion?
Your imagination.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, that question has always been tricky for me when she asks people, because I'm like, it's not really a
is
thing in
tricky.
a dream.
I think that's why I was like kind of double guessing myself as I was answering it.
Well, some people are very emphatic about they have only black and white or they only have color, and then I've heard really in-depth explanations of color saturation, and it's like rainbows, you know, like just where it's not, they're not hard and crisp lines. It's this energy overlapping into other energy that then creates another color, another hue.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know what the answers are.
I wonder if those
Yeah,
people who
that's
are
what we're
only,
here to discover or
only,
explore, at least.
What, Jerry?
I was going to say, I wonder if those people who only dream in black and white are just, you know, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. That, you know, they've conditioned themselves to only do that.
That's would be a very logical assumption, I think, considering that we're talking about this land of limitations when we come up here into consciousness, what we call consciousness.
Absolutely.
What we call limitations too. I mean, those are all self-imposed.
It's all about the
for most part,
limitations.
Are you able to pull back or see while you're in the dreams glyphs or numbers, any kind of mathematical equations, those kinds of things?
No, but that's something I always purposefully try to see. Even things like, say, you know, if I'm, and I do this in waking life too, as almost a practice, purposefully look at clocks, purposefully look at the numbers and pay a little bit more attention to them, like purposeful attention, so that hopefully when I'm in a dream, I can maybe see something that looks strange,
Mm-hmm.
that would possibly begin a lucid dream.
Well, that leads us right into lucid dreams. Do you experience those?
Yeah.
And frequency, intensity, tell us about your lucid dreaming.
See, that's one thing I've actually never, I think when I was younger, I did it a couple times without even trying to. But that's one thing that now I purposefully try to do. You know, I'll keep a dream journal here and there. I'm not really good with it. I'll try, but either way, things like purposefully looking at, trying to see numbers, trying to see glyphs, trying to see words, and seeing, you know, in a dream, something will be off about it, and that will allow you to get into a lucid dream. My major problem with all of that is I get close to lucid dreaming, I get excited, and I wake up.
Yes. Will you walk us through the at least one that you remember that's really super, you still have it with you in your memory, and describe it, the feeling of it and all that, the cues?
So this one actually was fairly recent. It was probably about a month ago. And I mean, it's pretty brief, but in my dream, I got a handgun. And I was like, all right, finally I got a handgun. So I need to like practice shooting it. And I was like, where can I safely shoot this gun? So I was like, oh, I'll just shoot it at the sky. It was nighttime. I shot it into space. And the second I did that, all of a sudden space just splintered. It like
Oh,
spider shattered.
Dude, you broke the
And
firmament.
Jerry,
dude, that's
for real.
that's almost what it was like in the dream. And the second I did that, I was like, almost like getting that feeling like when you're younger and you do something wrong and you're like, oh shit, what did I just do? But
Mhm.
in the dream, I was like, oh shit, what did I just do? And then right onto the feeling of I'm about to see something amazing, because as if space was just starting to fracture. Got too excited and woke up.
You probably drowned.
No, I was on the verge of seeing something amazing in my dream, and that excitement woke me up. And it was one of those dreams where you wake up and you're like, why'd I have to wake up? It was just about to be so amazing. And of course, I couldn't get back into it.
It totally reminds me of like sex dreams I used to have before I actually had sex.
Oh yeah, dude.
And you'd wake up like right before you did anything.
Yep. Yep.
So in this, when you were just barely reaching that like high lucidity moment where you jerk back out of it, is this the moment where you think the OBE is actually possible? So when you go from intense lucidity to actually full consciousness outside of your vessel.
It might be something like that, but I don't think, I mean, for OBEs, you don't need dreams for that.
Yes, I agree. I do think dreams can be a gateway to
Absolutely.
it,
They definitely can. Dreams are one of those interesting things. And, any artist throughout time would tell you that. I mean, just take Salvador Dali, for example. He would purposely go into dreamlike states and wake himself up to draw some of the stuff he drew.
and thankfully so.
Yeah, exactly. And
We should
that's
also
why
consider the possibility that being lucid is what out of body is.
Again, that I agree. What's the line there is what I'm trying to figure out. Is there a line between being really lucid and then being completely conscious where you are, which begs the question of where are you?
I would say that
also, could the two combine, being really lucid and being really conscious of where you are?
can you bilocate?
Can you do that without dreams, though, too?
Well, isn't that, I mean, I think ultimately the goal of dreaming, to awaken it within the dream, is to do that. I think that's possibly the exercise.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I think it's almost a practice to wake up in reality.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, think of movies like The Matrix where, we're told that we are essentially asleep in our reality. In our waking life, we're actually not really awake.
We agree. I just added Jerry into that. I agree. It's like
I agree
I'm
too.
becoming one with you.
But what if, just think of this for a second, what if, there's a certain degree of truth to that we're somewhat sleepwalking, not necessarily that we're asleep, but that whatever it is, we're, I'd say maybe like a little bit of zombified sleepwalking around, but that doesn't necessarily mean that this is, say, like a simulation or anything like that. It just means that, or say, what if it means that we're just distracted from the true realities of nature that have been hidden from us?
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about, like, one thing I love to do is survive in nature. And when you do that, just that with, you don't even need any drugs, just living in nature for a good amount of time, you become way more lucid. Or say doing something like fasting, you become way more lucid in this reality. And those are the times where, personally at least, I feel like, this reality is not a dream. This reality is reality, but people are just being distracted on a mass scale to to think that they're dreaming or asleep, like in the Matrix.
Well, there's come a certain lethargy with the modern lifestyle too, where the fears that are generated are kind of, we've created them rather than, say, being in nature where one is not the top of the food chain. So you need to be acutely in tune with the way the wind's blowing and feeling the vibration under your feet and all that. You need to remain part of the environment instead of slipping
Exactly.
away from it.
Exactly. And that's why I say one thing that is true for sure is nature.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Nature is my God. Whatever that is what I bow to. Because I think we are all nature.
Yes, I agree. We are.
How do you experience sound in dreams? Do you experience sound?
That's another one of those things where in my dream, I can imagine that I experienced sound, but when I recall it, I question if I ever really did. But then again, there's sometimes where, and often these are like the dreams where, say, Dahlia would be doing, where he'd purposely go into these like trance-like states and slightly dream and wake himself up out of it. There is where I find sound is the strangest, because it's almost as if the dream predicts sound that happens in real life, if that makes any sense. Like sometimes almost as it, like, for example, you're dreaming or you're about to dream, you're going into a trance-like state, dreaming, and then in the dream, all of a sudden something will happen, like, say, a ball will fly at your face, and the second it's about to hit your face, you wake up and you hear a sound actually in reality, like, say, a car or something, a car backfiring or whatever, and it's almost as if it's like precognition.
You can look at hearing a bell or something and waking up to an
Either that or
alarm.
time collapses in itself.
I've had that happen
Say
with
that
like
again,
an alarm,
Jerry?
with an alarm clock or a telephone ringing. I've
Or
had
having to
similar
urinate.
experiences. Pardon?
Mhm.
Yep,
Or having to
things
urinate.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. That's not a sound though
But
necessarily.
that plays, I'm just talking about those cues that are happening around your body.
Yeah, true. And it makes you wonder, like, even today when I got home from work, I was pretty tired, so I was contemplating taking a nap. I didn't really want to. I just laid down for a little bit, and I started getting into that trance-like state, not fully in it, not like I was dreaming. All of a sudden, I heard this bird that sounded as if it was from like a rainforest, definitely not native to our area at all. It woke me up, and the second I woke up, I heard this plastic bag like crinkling in the room I was in. Yet there's no plastic bag in the room I'm in. Like, what the? I honestly really don't know what to make out of it. But it was interesting because it did happen, at least in my subconscious. Or it was in that point where it was almost like the melding between the subconscious and the conscious. It was odd.
It's interesting that your body will wake you up to piss, but it will let you burn to death in a house, right?
Oh my goodness.
Maybe if you had
And to
enough
piss
to
at the
drink.
same time, right?
I mean, that's one thing I'll notice too. If I go out and hit up a bar or something, or just drink heavily, I usually don't remember my dreams. I'd say maybe that's probably fairly common.
So on all that, I feel like you answered this, but I just want to make sure I've ironed this out. Have you experienced astral projection, OBE, through a dream?
Yeah, I don't know if I have through a dream. When I was younger, I used to have these strange experiences. I think for what I can think now of it, I think I was astral projecting without even realizing it. I was young. I was maybe 9 years old, somewhere around there. And there'd be these times at night I wasn't sleeping, but I'd be in bed. And this, what I can only describe as like a slow drip of energy would start happening. And I could like feel it happening. And it was always terrifying because obviously I didn't know what was going on. And I was being pulled out of my body and essentially going into outer space. That's the way I thought of it when I was younger.
Were you afraid?
Oh
Did,
yeah, it was terrifying every time because it was like I was leaving like I was dying or something.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was younger, that's what I thought it was. It didn't make any sense to me at the time.
you were probably going to the cloning center.
Probably. Wouldn't be surprised. No, it was an interesting experience that only happened when I was younger. And I never even told anyone about it. I always just thought like it was something internal to myself. So I didn't even bother telling my parents or anything like that. And then the only other time I've experienced any kind of OBE was when I was 21. I smoked 5-MeO DMT,
Oh wow.
and that was a total out of body experience.
Doesn't that it ejects you out of your body pretty much, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's funny,
Like in Doctor
before that,
Strange.
oh yeah, it's definitely something like that. Like I pretty much, it was like also an NDE at the same time because I thought I fucked up and I killed myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's always,
And
it's when you're leaving, it's hard to
yep,
tell.
exactly. And when I was a kid, that would happen all the time too. It would be such a struggle for my ego, and it would always get to the point where I'd have to just let go. Getting to the point of acceptance as it was happening, like I was saying, like a slow drip of energy that would just increase to the point where it would just get so intense where I'd have to stop resisting and just let go and let it happen.
Now, those kind of experiences are generally found as well in like secret society initiation rituals, which I find interesting.
It is interesting. Is it because they have actual real knowledge
No,
that has
because
been suppressed?
I think what happens is I think the idea is that those experiences bring on or activate certain qualities in humans or certain humans that are nascent or latent or whatever until you come to a certain understanding, which apparently you get during an NDE or when you give up, when you say, I'm fucked, I'm gonna die. And like when you give that up, you gain something.
Absolutely, like the supposed resurrection experience.
Sure. Or you
And
lose your fear too.
exactly. And if anything, that makes you a better human being while you're in your conscious mind and while you're on this planet,
I
because
don't
you
know if it makes you
realize that.
better. It makes for them it makes them more adapt or they're more in tune with everything. So yeah, I mean it does make you better, but I don't think they're using that betterness for good.
Well, see, that's they. I
Yeah,
believe
that's
that's
a totally.
something, I believe that's an ability every human has. And if anything, maybe all of the supposed indoctrination that has happened and that has occurred has been specifically to to shut that out of people, to make it so that people don't think that, first of all, that's even possible, but then just to trap everyone's imagination and make it so that most people, don't think, aren't even able to get to that point of human beingness because, and that goes back to the whole thing about religion and a lot of it where, there's a lot of truths in every religion, but for some reason it seems like it's all been
Hijacked.
it's all been subterfuge and hijacked. It really does seem that way. And I think it is really to shut out our human potential, that we have these abilities. We have these abilities to travel astrally. We have these abilities, these psychic abilities that have been oppressed essentially and shut out. I mean, who knows?
I agree.
But it seems like that's what it is all about.
I completely agree. And it kind of leads us into what I consider my favorite part of our outline here is.
Can I throw one thing in here real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Go,
Okay.
Jerry.
I'd love to get someone on who's done DMT and had a real NDE, because I'm wondering, and as an astral projection, because I want to know what the lines are between those. How different is each experience? You know, when you have an NDE and then smoke DMT, is it a lot like it? Is it the same thing? You know, it could help us make
I've wondered that too.
Better model on, you know, what's going on there.
I've talked to some people who have had legitimate NDEs without any kind of psychoactive substance. This guy I worked with, he got into a really bad car accident and flung from his car. And he was telling me how he just remembers that he all of a sudden was looking down at the car accident and his body.
Ooh.
And totally aware of it, and almost as if he had a choice to stay or go.
That sounds like a classic death thing, though.
Yeah. And is there a reason that that's classic? Or is it just coincidence, you know?
I don't know.
When this is something we want to investigate further.
It's totally worth investigation for sure.
And not necessarily NDEs in general, because that's been studied a ton, I think.
But
Just
how they
psychic
tie
phenomena in
into
general.
how it ties into all this other stuff that we're interested in. So not that in and of itself, but how it correlates.
Right. And
exactly.
For myself, I could say I'm more interested in finding like a grand unified psi theory.
What was that?
Robot?
You
roboted again.
I don't know why it's doing that. What I said was, I'm interested in finding the, grand unified theory of psi phenomena.
Yes.
Absolutely. And what if it's just being human?
Well, that's what I think it is.
I do too. And I guess that's what I was saying. I feel like it's been shut out. I feel like that's the grand conspiracy, if there ever is one, is to make it so human beings don't realize their full potential.
And that is basically what I'm trying to get at too, is what are dreams? What is the experience that we all have access to every time we close our eyes? Every single one of us, even those that claim they don't dream. What is the experience? What's going on there?
Yeah, I think that's where the levels of consciousness that have been layered on that keep us from realizing these potentials break down, and their possibilities are limitless at that point. I mean, for some it's more intense than others, but if anything, one thing I've noticed too is sometimes in dreams it will involve other people.
We did overlook that. Do you experience others in dreams?
Yep, absolutely. That's happened a lot of times.
And how do you
And how did you tell the difference that they were actually driving their own car, so to speak, and weren't part of your dreamscape? Or, was there a line there?
Usually I would say for sure it's happened with good friends where we both end up talking about the dream, and those oh shit moments where it's like, oh my god, really, dude, you're fucking with me. You didn't. No, there's no way you dreamed that too. And it's like, still, I guess someone could be bullshitting, but I've always been honest about that. And you can pretty much judge, especially from someone when they're being legitimate, and when you just have that conversation where you're like, dude, no way, you're bullshitting me. I mean, that's been one of the common things for me, just in general, especially with good friends that are on the same kind of path, and maybe it has something to do with being open to the possibility. Whereas most people, unfortunately, aren't open to at all.
A lot of people aren't open to anything
I
at
think
all.
life has to be a certain way.
So again, this also brings another layer of concreteness to this etheric topic. When you have experienced others that were driving their own engines that were not you, they're pushing back and having will in an etheric setting. And I'm wondering, is this more real or is that more real? What's the difference here?
Yeah, that's a really good question. See, if anything, I mean, I don't even know if to say one is more real than the other is even a question worth asking, because what if they're both equally real?
And this comes back to what is it all? What do you think dreams are?
I think it's I would say I think it's a place. Maybe not even place would be the best word to describe it. It's a space where all the limits that have been put on so much conscious life break down, so that things like precognition or telepathy can actually be experienced. And that's not to say that they can't be experienced also within waking life. It's just so much more difficult unless you have the aid of some medicine, or if you have the practice. That's why meditation is extremely important, and things like trying to lucid dream just break down the limits that have been placed on our human potential. And maybe there'll be a point in time where there's no boundaries between dream life and waking life.
So in all this, so say in the construct of what we're dealing with here, you die, your physical body dies, and that which is you separates from it. What are dreams then? What's all that? Does that still exist? Is that actually the real, the true? Because clearly this flesh does, drop from the coil.
Yes, that it does. That's the only guaranteed thing in life.
So what are your thoughts on that then?
See, I don't know if would be on a whole another level than dreams. Dreams are something that happen while we live.
So you think they're tied into the brain, to neuro activity?
See, I wouldn't even go that far. I wouldn't even limit it. I wouldn't limit it at all. I wouldn't say it's confined to the brain.
But
It's
that
something that
statement
can't be
seems a little bit
described.
limiting. You know what I'm saying? Where death, the death state, whatever that is, and the dream state, whatever that is, are separate, seems limiting too.
But to say they're the same, doesn't that also seem limiting?
Oh no, I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, see, I don't know.
Some would
I
think
would
of
say
death as
death.
liberating too.
Yep, some would. And also personally, I would just call it the next adventure. And totally not what happens in dreams.
We don't
If that
know.
makes any
I
sense.
know.
Yeah, we don't know.
Do not know.
That's I think that death is completely different than what happens in dreams. Dreams are something that we do while we're alive in this human body, physical body, and death is something that happens when we leave this mortal coil, like you were saying.
I think
so
death is highly overrated.
I agree.
Right?
Death is for
Totally agree.
losers.
Dude, soon, maybe soon. Soon we'll be immortal. Technology.
We already
Well,
are immortal.
And that's
that's
something I
see,
wanted to get
true.
into in this conversation with Nomad. The stuff that we tend to over at the Hive talk about, including AI.
We should save it for the
Because I
Hive
think
too.
that it's all. I know, and it could go on a million directions over a million hours.
Yeah, I honestly think so much of all of that is a distraction from the true human potential. You know, like I was saying earlier with like the whole matrix concept, that we're, you know, in the matrix and we're, or say in a simulation. That I think is distractionary, because it means that within this reality we can't truly be awake. Like, it's fake, supposedly, but I don't think that's it at all. And that's why things like fasting, you know, surviving in nature, light isolation techniques break down the reality as you're in it and allow you to see down to the the deep levels of what life truly is, in this, I guess you could say, the sublayer of reality
What about
that we all reside on.
look at the converse of that, where you have, I would say, to discovering that was true, that to be empowering, because if it's virtual, it's malleable, and knowing that
That's
will
true.
allow you to change
That
it.
is true. But what if it's malleable and not virtual whatsoever? And what if,
Well, see, that's the thing. It is kind of malleable.
so what if it's, yeah, it is malleable. It definitely is. But what if it's not virtual at all? What if it is reality? And we all have a purpose here.
Virtual and simulation have meanings and context in our terms of technology today.
Robot Jerry, come back to us.
Damn it.
I don't want to have to yell.
Every time you say something critical, you start roboting out.
I know.
I don't know why it's doing that. I apologize. What I was saying is that I forgot now. Damn it. That
No, it was good.
Okay. So when you say virtual and simulation, those are in the context of today's technology. We can't comprehend or possibly comprehend the technology of whomever or whatever built this container if it is a virtual simulation. Make sense?
And that's one thing we don't know for sure.
You know, one way to look at it is that the universe itself, as we experience it, is a giant computer, and it's simulating us.
So then are we the dream for it?
No.
Is this the dream time for it?
Or what if we are the computer?
And it's
Yeah, I
The
like
quote
that
unquote
idea.
computer.
I like that idea a lot more. You know, the 42 answer, we were made to generate that
yes.
answer. That's absolutely possible. But who knows? I don't really think
I
it
don't know.
matters that much. Like you said, it's a distraction, and it is, because you need to, like, say, okay, it may be that or it may not be that, and not dwell on one or the other.
Exactly. And see, that's why, you know, a lot of spiritual practices are legitimate in helping you realize some things. And that's why I believe something, also fasting, is something I've practiced. And every time I've done it, I mean, I only made it 5 days, but at the end of those 5 days, it felt like I was way more in tune with reality. And it felt like, I wouldn't say that it felt like it was 100% actual reality, but I felt like I had broken through layers of being asleep, essentially, and that things felt so much more real. Like, I felt so much more in tune with whatever this is.
You know what I just thought of when you said that was all these people who say that humans didn't have to eat. Remember, or they, you know, when we were our original species or whatever, they fed off of the energy of the sun or what, of the ether or
Yeah,
whatever.
I've heard about that.
So
Yep.
maybe by not eating, you're returning to your natural state.
It could be. I mean, it's possible.
So, do you have? So, through this interview, which is probably winding around to the time where we ask questions, I've gotten a certain sense that I feel like I wouldn't ask you the question, is this a dream? Because I feel like the
It's not.
answers, yeah, I feel like that's what you have said over and over again.
And for
And
some reason, I think that's one of the big distractions that has happened over time. I know that might sound a little conspiratorial, but
oh, we love
I
we
almost,
love anything that seems.
to me, it almost seems like that is exactly what has happened over time.
Could you elaborate on that?
There's been some, I don't know, I guess other power structure. And I would say maybe, yeah, I can't say who it is. I can't name names or say any kind of organization because I think that's futile.
The hidden.
Yeah,
How about
broad
the
strokes,
hidden
maybe.
hand? The hidden hand works.
Robot Jerry, come back.
The hidden hand.
But I think ultimately that's the whole game, to keep people unaware of the way things actually are, and that this reality is not a dream. This reality is a place where we have immense power and control ultimately. But I mean, unfortunately now the way things are, everyone's raised, I mean, not everyone, but most people are raised indoctrinated in an education system.
Right.
And it starts off so hard to come back from it, you know. And most people, especially when you're younger and you're in school, if you are in a public education system, if you have any thoughts like this, you're a weirdo.
Yes. Well, I was
You're a
always one of the
weirdo.
weirdos. Yes.
Yeah, you're either a weirdo or a religious freak or something.
The other people were
And
the weirdos to me.
Yeah. I mean,
right,
well, but that, you know,
exactly.
the tag. How do you see us as individuals on the greater scale here? Are we connected? Are we separate? Now? I feel like I know this answer from already, but I just want to get some clarity in this.
I would say both.
Okay.
Ultimately, I would say we are connected because we are essentially birthed from nature.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, I'd say we are connected. But at the same time, you know, with the way anyone and almost everyone develops an ego, we are separate as well. Whether that's a weird defense, like primordial defense mechanism that happened over time, I don't know. It was maybe in due time, there'll be some kind of evolution where we become all connected and psychic abilities flow more freely. Where everything is right now, you know, it won't happen anytime soon, but I feel like that's why a lot of us are here right now, because we
Mm-hmm.
see that there's something wrong. We see that there's something fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Bartzis has a very similar opinion on that.
I've never heard him. I'll have to check him out. Yeah, it just seems like, you know, we have the potential, and we're on to. We can tell there's something fishy, but I don't know, can't quite put your finger on it.
I agree. I feel like everyone is in mass, or a lot of people are starting to come to the surface of something's not quite right, you know, or questioning
Exactly.
at a very basic level now, things that were never questioned in mass in at least a very long time, you know.
So true. Things are not as they seem.
When you described encountering others in your dreams, you also brought to the conversation that you solidified that there was a line between you and them, which is congruent with what you're saying here right now.
Because
So I
we're
find
still based in the ego.
Yes.
Now, at least.
Yes. Well, the ego is how we get around. It is kind of basically it is our vessel, really.
Yeah. It's a way to, interact and have a developed society, essentially, or a system that we can all operate in. I don't know, maybe the system was hijacked a long time ago, because there's definitely ancient cultures where, they were onto so much more, and it's clear to see that
Yes.
they've been wiped out systematically throughout time.
On
I mean, there's
purpose.
very few. Yeah, exactly, on purpose,
And
because they
continuing so to wipe out
they
this
knew,
knowledge.
and they were 100% or very closely connected with nature, and they saw truths that nature provided just from the experience that they had. And yeah, unfortunately, it's been hidden,
But
and
they were
now it's
uncontrollable in that
considered
state.
a
I
cult.
mean, that's the reason, that you'll hear as to why they were conquered or there was genocide occurred.
Or they were savages.
Yeah, right, exactly. But what it was is just we couldn't control them.
Yeah, right.
They're not going to believe
That's
in
what it's
our
all about?
God. Yeah,
That's what it's all about. Control.
it's a domination and control planet.
I have
Universe.
one last thing before we go into question and answer, and I see that greatest potentials even ask if we're at that point. I want, and there's Omar. Hello, Omar.
Hey, Omar.
Hey, Omar.
So I want to wrap up on this, and I'm wanting to wrap up on it because you actually have brought it up over and over again throughout this interview and our conversation, and it's the psychic ability, these other senses, and those aren't your words, but where does that all tie in to the experience we're having here? And the experience we have here is, of course, tied into our dream experience. What's your ideas of these extra senses?
I'd say human abilities. And maybe there was a point in time where we were more aware of them. We practiced them more frequently. And I don't know if I'd say dreams always just help. It's like almost like a practice stage for those abilities. You're not in your conscious mind anymore. And the more aware you are, conscious mind, the more depth you can go to in dream world, if you'd call it that. But yeah, I'd say they're definitely just human abilities that, like I was saying, they've just been oppressed.
I'd go with dream time.
Yeah, that works.
We love dream time. See, the thing is, though, you say human ability, and I think that the animals already possess these abilities. That dogs and obviously whales and other animals, including trees and mushrooms.
You're absolutely right. Instead of saying human ability, I would rephrase that as earthling abilities.
And the one thing that all those have in common that we don't is that they don't speak.
They don't, indeed, in the way we do.
Correct. They all have. We have language and they don't, and that could be the key, that we develop language which turned off all of our telepathic abilities.
Absolutely, the word could be the separator.
The language is the fuckery.
The spell.
Yep.
It's the spell.
It is the spell.
Because we spell our words.
Yes.
Yes, words all have spelling.
And yeah, that could be the whole thing, man. That could be the whole spell right there.
It's got a large part. It's most of it, I would say. And if that's true, we fucked ourselves, which is hilarious.
And sometimes I wondered, did we do it on purpose?
No.
Did we do it on purpose to teach ourselves a lesson? Or was it done by the oppressive system, the people in power? Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
But what
Things
is
to
the oppressive
contemplate.
system? And it, you know, by even saying the oppressive system, we set ourselves separate from it.
Absolutely. But can you deny that there is one?
Oh, I think we've been born into slavery, clearly.
Yeah,
So, and
I
not
agree.
to use a trigger word, you know, sadly that's become a trigger word, but we do have to play the game, it seems.
See, that's one thing I often wonder. I mean, what's that quote from Benjamin Franklin? The only two true things
Death and
we
taxes.
have are death and taxes.
Mm-hmm.
But I would disagree 100% because I can go live off the land in nature. It's not going to be easy. I can go survive in the wilderness. And the only guaranteed thing for me there is going to be death.
Yes, I can too, Nomad, and I have. So lived off grid and off road and loved it.
Exactly.
So there's a security within, actually, there's a yearning for that always.
Absolutely. And the thing is, there's not many people that even think that's an option. It's, it's not comfort. It's not comfortable.
And yet it is way more comfortable.
Yeah,
once you unplug, literally unplug, there's a sense
it
of
is.
freedom.
Absolutely. Such a great sense of freedom. It's, words cannot describe, because the spells cannot describe human or earthling freedom.
So we're not dreaming.
I would say not right now. We do dream, but I don't think this reality is a dream. I think it could be a
Simulation.
See, I wouldn't call it a dream. I wouldn't call it a simulation either.
I was kidding.
I'd call it a chapter.
What if
Or
we tapped
something.
into some of those powers? Say we were able to tap into what we consider dream powers, like we could now float around in the room, or I could pop over and we could have tea. It would then,
Or we could communicate psychically.
yes. Well, and some maybe in the past, in the modern past, like the 1500s and thereabouts, would think this is kind of a weird telepathy, right? Wherein we all have headphones on and we're talking to the air.
Oh, definitely. It totally would. See,
But I'm just saying, if we have these if we all of a sudden unlocked this potential that we can in dreams, that is accessible to every one of us, then where would the line be? Where would the line be? How would you know the difference between one state of existence and the other?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I don't know. I mean, I think you would still, especially if you got to the point where you broke the spell.
Like some of the masters, at least written down. I mean, Christ, Siddhartha to Buddha. I mean, they're around the stories of the masters. There's so many of them. I have to find some bit of. I mean, I feel like that they must have existed in this realm for there to be so many stories of them. Unlocking the code.
Oh yes, enlightened individuals.
Yes, and so where that line blurs, then
It'd be interesting. None of them ever been asked that. It'd be interesting. I mean, the way I think about it right now is that they're to the point where, if anything, they realize even more the line between the two.
interesting.
And that dream world, if anything, is a great time to practice magic. If that makes sense.
It's like a mirror realm from Doctor Strange.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, there's another theme.
Sorry, I just saw the movie again.
Almost as if they would be, they'd have these abilities that would be in reality, and the dream world would be the time to hone those abilities. The psychic abilities I believe that every human contains.
Okay.
Almost like a practice ground, like, a sparring arena.
Yes.
in a way.
I've gotten a real sense of that from this interview with you, that you, I think you've painted that very clearly, which is what I wanted, some clarity of how you think.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of it just seems like there's a big distraction that's been happening for a while.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Jerry, do we have questions from the chat?
I haven't looked
I
yet.
did earlier ask if they would write them in all caps. Looks like Steph may have.
Here we have one from Steph. Have any of you experienced have any of you experienced the sharing of dreams or having someone else's dreams?
Ooh.
I have not.
I've had the sharing of dreams, but not anyone else's dreams.
I too have had this sharing. I have not jumped into anyone else's, which I think would be remarkable.
Well, I should say I don't remember any.
Well, that whole dream sharing concept, which I postulate this is not far from, because we're all agreeing that gravity exists, so we're not floating about, and somehow we're all agreeing, because we're participating in this system of power over the grid, if you will. And so is this not a dream sharing experience, where dream sharing that things are, there's a currency and that there are certain just laws that we must abide by? That's dream sharing. Yet here we are in what's called reality.
But it's like a bunch of dicks took over our dream.
They
Yeah,
did.
what
I know they did. But that's still, we're still participating in it. So we're
And
sharing
there's no
it.
reason to say that we can't take it back.
Right, but we've been doing it so long, it's kind of difficult for the masses to unhook from all the stuff that they're used to, you know? God, just trying to get people to give up their cell phones would be an enormous task.
Oh, absolutely.
The
Or
grid-
even just TV.
Yeah, but I would say the best thing that could happen to wake people up would be like a solar flare that knocked out every electronic device on the planet.
It
You
looks like
broke up there.
Omar has a question.
All right. What manner of thinking do you use?
Some people think in feelings, others pictures, others movies, and
Others
others imagine,
imagine.
while others, in my opinion, can't.
They just perceive perceptions.
Yeah, that's always possible. I wouldn't consider that I use any of those methods whatsoever. Because those are just all different lenses of looking at what is true. I mean, that's my opinion, though.
Well, you're the one being interviewed here.
Here's another
True
question
that.
from Greatest Potential. Does the dark Indian who claims to be wise actually live on the other side of the black mirror?
Ooh.
Are traps gay?
Well, see, I mean, that's the thing.
That's not a relevant question, Dave.
We all find, like, it's just the dark mirror thing, Black Mirror, there's that show. These are concepts that we have created. Right?
Yes.
So what is that? I mean, what is that? If anything, that's talking along the lines of living within the concepts that have been created.
When I hear, it also brings to mind, and I'm not sure if, you know, my mind, I'm on tangents constantly, but I hear dark Indian and Black Mirror, and I personally think of shaman. So as I understand them, and which has nothing to do with light or dark, or, you know, or even something so mundane as skin, but with working with the mud, with the dirt, with the roots. You know, where did...
And why not call that light Indian?
Right. It doesn't matter to me how you term that is what I'm saying. So it just was that
But see,
those
my
words strung together made me see
exactly.
shaman.
And that's my point. Those words strung together,
Mhm.
sometimes to certain people will invoke a certain image. That's
The
why we were
spell.
talking
That's the
earlier. Yeah, the
spell,
spells.
exactly.
Yes, exactly.
But
I mean,
so
you
that is the question, though. The shamans, as we were talking about with the mushrooms, the whole shamanistic thing. Where does that sit in to all this?
that sits into our human potential that everyone has. Our abilities. We have those abilities, and we have methods like certain plants that grow from our earth to explore those potentials and explore the weirdness that is this reality.
So if you encounter a shaman in the dreamscape, what does that symbol? So that symbol becomes what you could your higher self, or what you could unlock and be, or a reflection of your true essence. What is that symbol in dream symbols in the dreamscape to you?
Yeah, if anything, I would say maybe it could possibly be a striving toward wisdom, a striving toward truth that, we still don't realize quite yet. I mean, shamans, they were the medicine men.
Mm-hmm.
They did everything at that time, and they also explored dreams. They explored the depths of what I guess you could call reality, or most people don't call reality anymore, because there's this weird paradigm we live in where these things are just, brushed aside. Like, I don't even know it. I guess the symbolism of that would, be the wisdom and the knowledge that is not known on the surface.
Have you had night terrors or nightmares?
Oh, definitely nightmares. I've never had night terrors, or I've never also had. Those are two things. The only closest thing to that is sometimes I'll wake up, and it's usually around 3 a.m., which I always find weird, and with this like
The
weird
witching
sense of
hour.
fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like,
we all seem to be waking up right around then.
If you can even
And I
get to
always
sleep.
Yeah.
right, exactly. Every time it happens, I'm like, oh, is this just all in my mind? Because I know 3 a.m. is, the witching hour, and could be subconscious, could be legit.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
We do have one more question from Dave. Asks if have you ever had an abstract, non-corporeal dream? Example: shapes and colors.
Yeah, I honestly can't think of one. Not what I would consider occurring in the dream world, but times when I was younger doing, I mean, I guess what I would call astral traveling, things like that would happen. As I was progressing through that, what I was referring to like slow drip energy that was building up, things like that would start to happen. But I guess that wouldn't be a dream. So yeah, no. I haven't had a dream of just shapes and colors. It's all pretty vivid for the most part. At least the ones I remember.
All right.
Excellent. Nomad, thank you so much for coming on the show with us.
No
We
problem.
really appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's always
This
good
was
to
a
have
great.
these kind of discussions,
They are. It's hard to keep them on topic too because there's so many things we want to talk about. It's like, oh wait a minute.
Well, that's what it's all about, man.
Well, I've been
We're
keeping
excited.
This is why we have an outline and generally a time slot. We're trying to stay focused.
Yeah.
Correct. And this
It's
also
hard
gives me a
not to
nice,
get excited.
Plus, I keep a list on the side for all, this would be good to talk about in the hive, on Friday or whatever.
It all bleeds over to the hive.
There we go.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
Yep.
All right. Well,
Thank you,
thank
everyone
you.
in the chat. Thank you, Jerry.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Nomad.
anyone that wants to join the hive can.
That's right. It's not a closed group at all. All right.
But it's all.
It's what?
And we'll let Jerry have the closing.
Oh, no. I already said goodbye. Thank you all for watching. It's your show. What are you talking about? Me?
It's our show.
Oh, it's our show. Okay. We
Yeah.
appreciate
Peace
you
and
coming.
love.
If you liked it, please press the thumbs up button.
Robot Jerry.
Robot Jerry. I need the Stephen Hawking voice. If you like the show, press the thumbs up button. If you don't, I don't give a shit. No. Let us know what you didn't like or did like, and we'll make it better. So thank you all. Have a great night. Bye.
Goodbye.